Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the lawfare, and I've covered this in a few other videos, but the lawfare harassment against the Trump administration. It's choreographed, it's concerted, it's organised, it's scripted, it's clearly a general assault that the leftist globalists are using to frustrate and hamper Trump, and also to try and box him in so that he maybe takes precipitate action, and then they can go, you see, we told you he was Hitler, and so there's also some serious sort of manoeuvring and tactical manoeuvring going on here with these this lawfare. Now, I didn't realise or quite realise the extent of it. If you look at every weekday since President Trump's been in office, at the rate of one per day, so there's one every day, there's a new lawsuit, a new harassment lawsuit that's being launched against the Trump administration or their policies, and in particular, whether it's deportation, whether it's cutting staff in the federal bureaucracy or whatever it is. Now, as I've mentioned a number of times before, what surprises me that within 2 to 3 hours of President Trump making an announcement, a policy announcement, through his executive order or whatever, within 2 to 3 hours, the forces opposed to President Trump and are able to get their legal documents in line, get them prepared, arrange an emergency meeting with a tame activist judge, and get the judge to make a legal decision within a few hours, the whole process. So if for example, if at midday President Trump makes announcement such and such, could be deporting illegals or whatever it might be, by 3:15 p.m. that same day, these activist groups have prepared their legal documents, have got them filed, have arranged an emergency meeting with an activist judge, have had a hearing, and can get the judge's decision to block or limit or whatever President Trump's policy, all within 3 hours. I mean, wow! I can't get an emergency hearing like that. On what grounds are they getting this emergency hearing? I mean, they're saying, remember, there's no government Trump administration lawyers there. There's no one else there. They're just able to go straight to a judge and say, stop Trump now. And you go, okay. And the judge just does it. So now if you look at the filings, because they're prepared in a hurry, so that you can't have a carefully written up and carefully put together filing, not in that space of time. They use extremely broad, without evidence, by the way, they use extremely broad references. So President Trump's policies may cause irreparable harm or damage to such and such people or group of people. So the evidence is that 3 years ago at a political rally, candidate Trump said this, and that means candidate Trump said that he drinks water when thirsty, and we know that Hitler drank water when he's thirsty, therefore he's Hitler, therefore you have to stop whatever policy he's got. So extremely broad and ridiculous, absurd, I mean beyond absurd, co-relationships between what was said or done here and what's going on there. And they're able to use this almost, I mean, they could say anything. They could say, well, Mickey Mouse or Yogi Bear or they could just come up with anything and put it in there. Now, because they're getting to an activist judge. Now, what judge? So let me just picture this. Judge Steinberg, we need an emergency ruling to stop the Trump administration doing such and such. Now, if I was a judge, okay, well, that announcement was only made 2 hours ago. What evidence do you have? I'm in the middle of dinner or something, or I'm taking my children out to the so the judge has to be prepared to drop what they're doing. But if it was me, I don't know, what evidence do you have? Well, we think it may cause harm to the rights of some illegal alien who's also a convicted criminal. In what way does it affect their right? What evidence do you have there? Well, their human rights to smell the roses on they've got nothing. They can't have any evidence, not in that time frame. So they have to use broad ideological type evidence and purely not factual. Not here's the forensic evidence. They can't do that, so they have to use broad ideological references, and the judge has to be on board with the use of broad ideological references. You can't go to a judge that's going to ask you, well, where's the evidence? Because you're screwed. You can't produce evidence. Certainly not in that time frame, at least. Assuming you even did have it, it would have to be factual evidence, and so. So in one case, they were able to gather together complaints, supposedly representing people who are complaining about whatever treatment they may experience. And then if they do, then they may suffer some loss of human rights or dignity or something. Very, very vague. And so the judge has to, okay, you got no evidence, but you're ideologically, I'm on your side ideologically. We're the resistance. We have to fight. We have to stop Trump. And the judge has to be agreeing with that. Otherwise, the judge just wouldn't sign it, wouldn't even agree to meet these people at such short notice. And what's the emergency exactly? What's the emergency that they're dealing with? The criminal illegal aliens are being deported or something. Where's the emergency? I can't even see an emergency there. But somehow they're able. So again, the judge has to be ideologically on board. Now, they wouldn't go to a judge that wasn't ideological, but because the judge is so ideological that they grant the emergency hearing, then with only one side of the story, they're not hearing from other lawyers. They're not hearing from the Trump administration's lawyers at this point. The judge just immediately signs off on a stay or some sort of restriction or limitation on the president's power. Now, this is a federal district judge. It's not the full Supreme Court or something. So should that judge have the power to stop that? Now, there's no question the judges are activists, and if you look at their associations and the work they've done with NGOs, and where they're, for example, one judge's daughter is like deputy CEO of one of these NGOs that opposes deportation. Now, the judge should declare that. That's been unearthed by someone else, but another paper, but the judge should declare that, and they then should recuse themselves. So all these judges, in my view at least, that are making decisions are activists and have a conflict. Every single one of them, in my view, has a conflict of interest that they don't declare. So they're not declaring that conflict of interest. And there should be a very high bar, I believe, that the judges must meet to prove that they are non-partisan. And if any bar, let alone a high bar, existed, none of these judges could have heard these cases. So we need to come to grips with, I believe, that in this era we're in now, is that the majority of judges are sitting on, the Democrat, the globalist controlled Democrat Party, or any other. I mean, even in Australia and Britain and Canada, it's all the same now. Activist judges, ideological activist judges who will make rulings based on ideology alone rather than facts and evidence. These judges are now in the majority. They're there, and there's nothing we can do about it. Now we can just go to a situation where we say, well, those are activist judges. We don't care. We're going to ignore their rulings. Oh, I don't like that. I think the sanctity of the judicial system undermined horribly and subverted as it has been by the globalists. We have to restore that integrity to it rather than just say, you're a bunch of activists, I don't care. I want judicial oversight. This is for mine anyway, at least. I want judicial oversight to remain and the sanctity, the integrity returned to it. It must be fit for purpose, as it once was, but it's been subverted, so it's no longer fit for purpose. There's just too many activist judges now. So what do we do? So either Congress acts or maybe a presidential decree. I don't know, but something, certainly in the longer term, Congress has to act here, as do other parliaments. So, well, an activist judge can't stop the president from doing that. you can put a 24-hour stay on maximum, and within 24 hours, or the expiration of the 24 hours, a full appeal court has to be convened. So the only way a president's action or the government's action can be even temporarily stopped is by an appeal court, not by a lone judge. And that I think must be passed by Congress. Now, if you look at even a 24-hour stay should be a maximum there, that a federal judge or a district court judge should not have that power. A full appeal court should have the power to temporarily put a stay or a limitation on it, but then in order to override the powers of the president, it must go to the Supreme Court, I believe, the Supreme Court. Now, the constitution of any court, that as in the makeup of it, that has oversight over a president, I think must be decided by lottery. As in fully appointed appeal court judges, of course, but they're selected by lottery. And the same, I think, needs to be done now for the Senate determining judges. That the committee that approves judges must be selected by lottery. That the majority party has the total control over judicial appointments at a time when the requirement for a constitutional judge was considered as mandatory. Then, okay, that's fine, because both political parties would be reluctant. Not that they never did it, but they'd be reluctant to appoint activists to the court or to give them judgeships. But that's all changed now. The Democrats brazenly and openly appointed activist judges all the time, and so the power to select judges or approve judges at a Senate level, I'm talking here, I think the committee members must be selected by lottery, so that the majority party just doesn't have that power to willy-nilly appoint judges. And also I don't like the idea of impeaching judges. I mean, sure, that mechanism needs to be there, but once the politicians have the power to go after judges they don't like, exclusively on the basis we don't like that decision, just on that basis, rather than going after an activist judge, then the door is open now for politicians in the future just go after any judge they just don't like. And we don't want that. The idea of independence of the judiciary is still critical. That they put activist, ideological fanatics and activist judges, that is undermining the independence of the judiciary and the integrity of the judiciary. And that's the issue that needs to be addressed. Now, quite a few people on the sort of the conservative side are saying, well, look, these are activist judges. Their decisions are just nonsense. They should be ignored or bypassed. Or Andrew Jackson did it. No. You don't want that. You want make the system fucking work. Make it work as it's supposed to. Restore integrity. That should be your focus, and do that. And to do that, workarounds need to be exercised and considered. And one of them, of course, is that a federal judge cannot stop the actions of the president other than a 24-hour stay. But then a full appeal court decided by lottery, as in the appeal court judges are selected by lottery, can then hear the case, and all they can do is say, add another 24 hours on, but it must go to the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court can't say, I don't want to hear that. It has to go there. So this then bypasses the ability of one side to just rando select activist judges. And that's important. And if we can prevent that, then we can return integrity to the judicial system, which certainly needs it right now. You've been fantastic today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.